Hello, Connective. Welcome back. If you're new to my channel, welcome. Subscribe, comment, and like without smashing anything, and let's get into this energy. This is a collective reading for Capricorn. Capricorn, we've already got jumpers for your overlying and underlying energy. We'll talk about those as soon as we get the energy cards on the table. For your overlying energy, we got one Akashic, one card from the Akashic deck and one card from the Universal Law deck. And then for your underlying energy, we got two cards from the Akashic deck and one law from the Universal Law deck. So this message is already kind of going together. I do see spiritual awakening on the table. I also see healing and the desire to start affecting that for change. So we get a few more cards out from this energy oracle, and then we'll talk about the overlying and underlying energies of the reading for Capricorn. I would like 3 more cards, please. 3 more cards from the energy oracle for Capricorn, please. Wow. All right, we're going to go through it one more time, and if we don't get any more cards, we're going to pull 3. Those are the 2 that came out on their own. These are the 3 that we're going to pull. And let's look at the overlying energy. Okay, so for the Akashic deck, you got the 6 of Keys, the increscent moon. So this is kind of like time to get to work, and everything that you want is coming to you. It's not just money, it's resources, it's everything coming to you, right? It's like the stars are aligning, it's like the moon is waxing, it's like a time for increase, right? Overlying energy. And then you have the law of forgiveness. Release all judgments and set yourself free. So a lot of times when we're not forgiving someone, we're holding back healing, which means we're stunting our own spiritual growth. These 2 cards together are telling me that it's time to get to work and start forgiving other people so you can start healing. I mean, it's time to start healing, but part of that healing is the forgiveness of other people. It's time to start doing both, right? And then for the underlying energy, you have clearing the way. So this is the 4 of Keys. So this is like the energy that we have to embody to get to kind of what we're trying to do right now. And this is kind of like there's a block in your way, and you have the tools that you need to remove this block, right? You already have brought the axe with you to chop this tree down so that you can get home kind of way, right? But you do have to clear the way to do that. Now, this card, also out of the Akashic deck, is the 4 of Roses, which is views of the ego. So this card is telling me that part of the work that you have to do for like the healing and like part of the starting to get to work for the forgiveness is that you have to clear the way for your ego. You have some ego, Capricorn, that's getting in the way of your ascension because either you're not wanting to let it go and you need to because you're trying to ascend, or because you're too ingrained in the ego to the point where you're having difficulty letting go because it's so much a part of your life kind of thing. And then we have the law of neutrality, practice non-reaction and staying in equanimity. So this card is kind of telling you to let go of your ego, to kind of look at things, you know, in more of a like an outside like perspective, kind of like in an objective point of view kind of thing, and to not be so holding on to things that might keep you from seeing things how they really are type of thing. So the ones that came out on their own, we have the 6th chakra Archangel Metatron. So our 3rd eye is on the table, our intuition. And then we have the thinking woman. I always say it could be a man, it could be a woman, could be anyone. And then we also have the man holding a heart. So we always say it could be a man, could be a woman, could be holding anything. We're going to put that under here. And we have community. So these are good friends, good family, people who choose to be around you because they want to, not because they have to, right? And the goddess of the moon. So sometimes this comes out as like things that are unseen. I see a little bit of that here, but I also see intuition. So we're going to go ahead and put that up there, right? So I'm not quite sure why the thinking woman's here just yet. You know, unless some of this ego stuff is like, a lot of it is happening in our head kind of thing. Which, even if it was, you have this like forgiveness and this healing and this like time to get to work, there's a possibility that a lot of that work could be getting done in your head as well. So there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. When the thinking woman comes up, we do just want to make sure that we're not necessarily like overthinking. We might want to consider, since we have like our third eye on the table and the goddess of the moon, that we also use our intuition to try to figure out what's going on here. And it might have something to do with our heart. It might have something to do with our heart in the past. That's why forgiveness is on the table. That's why we need to heal. I still see clearing the way for your ego, not necessarily theirs. I mean, it might have been, but that's not what's doing the damage right now. As I say that, forget who you are comes out. Forget who you are is like a deprogramming card. It's like conditioning falls away. Memory no longer defines you. So that's kind of like somebody from the past, right? Kind of has us in a, where we're not really sure. I see 4 cards, so I'm going to stay with those. We also have uncertainty, choose who you will become. See, I thought that's what that card was, like who do you want to be kind of thing. There's like a who in the world are you, which is like who do you want to be? And at the end of the day, when you're doing all this stuff, you know, or do you want to be your ego, or do you want to be more than your ego, right? Clearing the way. And then we have, well, we'll get back to that. So we have follow your own good advice. So trust yourself. You know what is best for you. So a lot of times when we do get out of situations, and sometimes the reason why we procrastinate before going into situations, before getting to work, or before forgiving anybody, a lot of times we're not trusting of our own like opinion of what should be because of what we let ourselves get into. So we could get into a situation that we don't like. We could even get out of it and then not trust our judgment for getting into another situation, or not even trust our judgment for getting out of it. I don't see that here on the table. I see follow your own good advice. So whatever is coming up for you that you feel that you need to do, I do see uncertainty. Follow your own good advice, to trust your gut. Your third eye is on the table kind of twice. So if you're leaning towards a certain direction, even if it seems unpleasant, chances are it's the path of least resistance, right? And you know, you have a little bit of deprogramming on the table. You also have the residual trying to please everyone, all must have prizes. So this could be you. It could be someone else's ego that got in the way, and it was you that was trying to please everyone, which does create anxiety. It could make you forget, or uncertainty. It could make you forget who you are because you're kind of not really paying attention to what you want necessarily. You're more worried about like what everybody else wants. Sometimes when we try to give everybody everything or give certain people things, we sacrifice ourselves or other people in that process because we can't give everybody everything that we want. All must have prizes. You can't make everybody happy all the time, right? So follow your own good advice, right? So yeah, I feel like intuition, and then follow your own good advice is on the table. So if you feel lost, it's because you're not listening to what you think should happen. Again, ego can get in the way of that. It's kind of like what we were talking about when I said it can get in the way of your spiritual awakening. Third eye is on the table. Your ego can mess that up. It doesn't go along with the ascension process necessarily. I mean, you need your ego, but when you're having a spiritual awakening, and especially at certain stages, you need your ego to step aside. If you have to clear the way with, regarding your ego, there's a possibility that it could be trying to take over. It could be going into some kind of hyper mode because it sees that it's losing grip on like what's happening in your life, kind of thing. In a way, it does have a mind of its own in that respect. But you could also, you know, talk to your ego and say, hey, no, I want this to happen. Detoxify. I want this to happen. Back off. Right? I'm trying to forgive. I'm trying to heal. I'm trying to grow. I'm trying to learn. I'm trying to do new things. Full moon in Taurus. Detoxify. There could be a Taurus involved with you. So there could be a Taurus involved with you. There could be an Aquarius involved with you. New moon in Aquarius. Open up to change. So this is kind of like what we're talking about too. We're talking about how things are going a certain way, but we're a little bit afraid of it because we feel like we're not sure what's going on. Again, it's because a lot of times we still have that residual of what was before. And in order to move out of it, we have to get in, like we have to get out of our comfort zone. We have to get into a place that's uncomfortable. And then we have last quarter moon in Leo, lighten up. So I got full moon, new moon, and last quarter Leo. I got Taurus and Aquarius on the table. So it might be a Leo. Did I say Leo? Yes. There might be a Leo, a Taurus, or an Aquarius. But really the detoxify is standing out because that goes with forget who you are. Open up to change goes with uncertainty. And then lighten up, it goes with follow your own good advice in the way of you really need to not overthink it when you get the notion that something is better for you in a certain situation. Because your intuition, that first hit that you got, that was accurate. It's like if you were in a situation, in a relationship, but you didn't know if you wanted to be in that relationship. And then after a while of finding all these reasons why you didn't want to be in the relationship, you started finding all these reasons why you're not a good person because you don't want to be in the relationship, right? And then you say to your friend, hey, you know, maybe I'm just being silly. And your friend says, of course you're being silly. You're going to marry this person. Your first initial reaction is what's correct. If that person, when that person says that you're going to marry this person that you're uncertain that you're in this relationship with and you recoil, that's your gut reaction. Overthinking it and thinking about how you're not a good person because you recoiled is not going to help you out. That was your gut reaction telling you what you did or didn't want to do. You can do that with a lot of things. All you got to do is introduce that element into the situation that you do or don't want, and you'll either get mad about it or happy about it, excited about it or sad about it. You're either going to be, you know, this gut-wrenching, oh my God, no, or this gut-wrenching, oh my God, yes. You know, I mean, there is everything in between, but that can also be a filter for how much you want something, right? But your first initial reaction is what's going to tell you whether or not that's what you want to go for, even if you didn't know, even if you were uncertain, you really just wanted to figure it out. You already know. You just have to ask yourself in the right way, right? But again, if we're trying to grow, like if we're trying to do all this stuff here, we're trying to grow because we're moving towards this community and this man holding a heart here. I mean, we talked about spiritual awakening. We talked about that, the fact that the gift could be the spiritual awakening. I mean, we have third eye and intuition on the table. We also have forgiveness, which also means healing, and we have time to get to work, right? And then for some reason, we have to clear away our ego on the table. So that really does look like spiritual awakening. Plus, we're detoxifying. And we're lightening up. Anytime we think of ourselves as ascending, we always think of ourselves as lightening up. You could also be a light worker. There's been a lot of light that's been showing up these days in these cards, right? Clearing the way has a light. Clearing that ego away will help you reach your light as you're trying to lighten up and open to change, right? You need to follow your own good advice. Some of you may already have community or, you know, a man holding a heart, but the idea in this situation too is to like keep that intact, right? To like lighten up with these people or rise with these people or possibly clear away your ego to have a better relationship with these people or a better love relationship or a better relationship with yourself. Again, we still have that healing, that forgiveness that's on the table. These things that we need to work for to be better people, to be happier people, so that we can be the community for someone else, right? So that we can be holding the heart for someone else. Maybe so that we can even come up with ways where we can help other people, right? Because we have all this intuition on the table. Detoxifying. Those qualities are there in the spiritual awakening, but also in helping other people and people who like to give, right? Might not even think you don't, you might think you might not have that much of an ego, and then clear that away and then realize how much of it was ego. The ego might have even been bringing, some lower vibrational energies like fear and other things too, because they were making you worried about things that you don't necessarily feel are as important to worry about now, like the law of neutrality, right? We're worried about, just as an example, like what clothes you were wearing or what car you were driving, and now you realize that none of that matters really. It never really mattered to you for other people looking at them, so it doesn't really matter now as you're looking at you, what you're driving or what you're wearing or certain things like that, right? Things that may have been based around your ego are going to start to fall away, right? This change that's here. Open up to change. You could decide, you can make it work. It could happen on its own. It's possible. It's a possibility if you start, forgiving other people or, healing, that it does happen on its own anyway. You just automatically open up to change. I mean, just deciding not to be, I was going to say wounded for lack of better words, is opening up to change, right? It's deciding, like, I'm not going to be in this state anymore. This state that might be a comfortable state, right? We might not like it, but we might be pretty used to it. Some people do get pretty used to their own, pain, right? Maybe holding on to the pain sometimes is a little bit easier than detoxifying, right? And that's separate than trying to let go of the ego, right? Like this actually looks like it's going to be a little bit of work to clear that way for that ego, right? That ego looks heavy. It looks big. It's a blocking you from what you want to do. So usually we're trying to figure out what the block is, and we see here that it's the ego, and we know that that's underlying. So overlying again is the healing and the forgiveness. So no matter what else is said in this reading or the extended Capricorn, don't forget that overlying and underlying energy. But then on top of that, you have, like we said, intuition or advice, or your own advice, but definitely intuition 3 times on the table. So again, if you're having trouble trying to figure out what you're supposed to be doing in a certain situation, follow your own good advice or listen to your intuition. You got third eye and then Goddess of the Moon on the table. Now, what we really need to do, well, the only other thing is, make sure you're not overthinking, of course, but also, if you don't have the man holding the heart or the community, just remember that you're working towards it, that all this stuff that you're doing is towards an end, and that's part of it. It's not the whole thing. Part of this is all the stuff we said and following your own good advice. Once you get there, there's more stuff on the other side of it, right? So again, you just have to open up to change and lighten up to get to where you're trying to go. This is just like the first step part of it, because you're still going to be listening to your intuition, and there might be stages of letting go of your ego or forgiveness or healing, right? So keep that in mind, Capricorn, that all of that, what you have, what you're coming with, what you need to do, just what kind of to remember in the back of your mind, and what you're working towards. What you're working towards is pretty important. Like I said, it's not just community and a person holding a heart. It's so much more. So, Capricorn, I'm getting ready to pull the blind spot. Like I said, we see what we need to clear, but then we also have our blind spot. We also have something that's either keeping us from doing the things that we want to do, or something that we don't see that's in the way again. So it could be something we know of and something we don't know of, and it could even be related to this. They could go hand in hand, or they could be totally separate from each other. So now I do believe it's time to pull the blind spot. Just remember what I said. If you're not coming with us, most important thing is what you're trying to do and where you're starting from and what you're working towards. So if this is your reading, Capricorn, meet us over at the extended. The link will be in the description. And if not, until we meet again,